For the first time on 5 on Your Side, we are hearing from the family of a mother and daughter killed after a car crashed into their living room. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Tonight, that mother's 10-year-old son is safe and a suspect is in custody. 5 on Your Side's Megan Kernan is at the scene on South 8th Street.
Well, Mike and Kelly, a growing memorial has started outside of Siobhan Green's home after her and her 4-year-old daughter, Toriana Bohanna, were killed here yesterday. Now, we spoke to Siobhan's father earlier today, who says he's just heartbroken, not only losing his daughter, but also his granddaughter, who he says were both watching TV in their living room when the crash happened. Now, Belleville police say Matthew Thomas crashed into the home, killing the mom and daughter. They say when officers arrived, they saw huge flames and smoke coming from the house. Officers and fire crews were able to rescue Siobhan's 10-year-old son, DJ, from the house. Now, there was a manhunt for Thomas for several hours yesterday afterwards, but he has not been charged yet. Belleville PD released his name and photo when they believed he was a danger to the public. Thomas was unarmed when he was arrested outside of a Belleville Dollar Tree after a concerned citizen called him in. Maurice Green says Thomas was a neighbor and had no relationship with his daughter. Belleville police say they have been called to the house before for problems with Thomas.
Yes, there was a disturbance the day before. It's because he wanted a relationship. He was infatuated with my daughter. And my daughter called the police because he was being more than a handful. She convinced the police not to take him away, having mercy. And this was the result.
Now, there will be a balloon release for the mother and daughter outside of their home here at 6:30. Tonight at 6, we're going to hear from the Belleville Police Department and how they plan to get justice for this family. For now, live in Belleville, Megan Kernan, 5 on Your Side.
A Ferguson police officer is making progress after being severely injured during a Friday night protest marking 10 years since the death of Michael Brown. Officer Travis Brown is still in the hospital tonight. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell says Officer Brown has his family by his side, along with other officers and Ferguson Mayor Ella Jones. Bell said he didn't want to elaborate on the progress out of respect for the family, but said, quote, "There is some reason to be cautiously optimistic." Officer Brown worked for St. Louis County Police for 11 years before moving to the Ferguson Police Department in January. Elijah Gant is accused of knocking down and severely injuring Officer Brown. Gant is now applying for counsel. A bond hearing is set for later this week, and a preliminary hearing is scheduled for September 11th. 3 other protesters who were charged have turned themselves in and posted bail.
Since Michael Brown's death, many programs were developed to help build equitable communities. And today, Michael Brown Sr. and other local leaders spoke at a Day of Action event hosted by the Deaconess Foundation to address problems affecting young people and people of color. They say sometimes those groups can be unjustly targeted by schools, police, and juvenile courts.
These systems historically are rooted in racism and oppression. And that means that the community must watch, the community must look, the community must be present to make sure that those children are being treated fairly and that the conditions in which they are existing are just and fair.
Today's events also included prayer and self-defense training for faith leaders. You can find out more about how the Ferguson community has grown and changed in the decade following Michael Brown's death. Just text the word Ferguson to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you a link.
Tonight, the I-Team continues its pursuit of accountability in the tragic death of Sonia Massey, a 36-year-old unarmed woman killed by a sheriff's deputy at her home. Our senior investigative reporter Paula Fassan has been pressing the Illinois board that oversees law enforcement standards for answers. Tonight, she reveals its response.
The killing of Sonia Massey by Deputy Sean Grayson has sparked serious concerns about how officers are hired and vetted. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board sent the I-Team its first statement. The board, which certifies over 35,000 officers across the state, clarified its role, setting standards but not deciding who gets hired. It's up to local agencies. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office was the last to employ Grayson. Records obtained by the I-Team reveal Grayson's troubling past, a history of misconduct, including 2 drunk driving convictions and a discharge from the Army for serious misconduct. Former supervisors described him as very aggressive and not great with evidence.
Did you violate a direct order? Yes.
One violation led to a high-speed chase and a crash with a deer.
Is the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office to blame?
Yes. What's remarkable here is that investigative journalists have done a more thorough job in vetting this former deputy than the sheriff's office did.
Sangamon County board member Mark Ayers demands stricter hiring criteria and more rigorous psychological exams.
What do you think needs to change?
Everything from the bottom up and top down.
Ayers insists the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board must elevate its standards. They're set by state law.
The outcry has led to a major development. Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell announced his resignation Friday. He cited the toll of the current political climate as his reason for stepping down. And he vowed to advocate for higher standards to prevent such tragedies in the future. For the I-Team, Paula Vasan, 5 on your side.
If you have a tip for Paula, leave a voice message. The number's 314-444-5231. You can email her directly at pvasan@ksdk.com. All calls and correspondence will be kept confidential.
Top officials in the defense industry sat down with local universities and U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt in St. Louis today to chart a path for more students to find a foothold in a lucrative career. Our political editor Mark Maxwell is live with a preview of some of the jobs of the future coming to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency site in North St. Louis. Mark?
Yeah, Mike, let's nerd out for a minute. Imagine if you could predict wildfires or hurricanes or map the ocean floor in all its intricate details. Or what if you could fly a fighter jet with no pilot or drive a tank with no soldier? All that advanced futuristic technology, the kind that would make the Jetsons jealous, is just about to take off right here. Students returning for their first day of school might feel like graduation is a long way off. How do I get there from here? Defense industry experts pulled up chairs at desks of their own Monday morning to brainstorm ways to recruit young talent to find their way into their companies.
This is about mapping. This is about geography. This is making sure that a missile can go from point A to point B.
Senator Eric Schmidt drafted an amendment to the defense spending bill to spend $5 million recruiting those students.
To make this the National Geospatial Innovation Hub.
In hopes they'll come to work at a place connecting eyes in the skies to boots on the ground.
It's about putting St. Louis on the map as the premier defense tech hub in the country.
Supercomputers analyzing satellite imagery can sort through and analyze all that data to help us get around faster.
We use it in law enforcement, we use it in emergency response related stuff, we use it to make financial decisions. And so all that technology is built into essentially providing insights and then making decisions off of those insights, whether you're a banker trying to decide in investing in a property that's in a flood zone, or whether you're a 3-star general in the United States Marine Corps deciding how to get guys from one place to the other to keep them safe.
Former Marine Brian Monheiser runs a geospatial firm to help the public sector tap into the vast wealth of data satellites collect and send back to Earth.
Can we get to the answer faster, or at least get to the pieces that matter so we can make a decision? And that's usually, it's always going to be a human set of eyes helping to make that decision.
And with the advent of artificial intelligence and quantum computing colliding to help humans think at warp speed, every new satellite launch serves as a reminder. The sky is the limit.
1. I think in St. Louis, we have a tendency to sometimes look backwards. This is about looking forward. These are the jobs that are going to fuel not just the defense industry, but all the innovation that we're surrounding. There's a lot of talk about AI. Well, a lot of that's going to happen here if we do it right.
So high school or college students, if you're watching, you could soon start to hear from recruiters trying to lure you into geospatial jobs right here once they open soon enough. And the highly anticipated grand opening is scheduled for the fall of next year, just about 1 year from now. And that full transition to get all the jobs up and running here scheduled for spring of 2026. Live in North St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
In his first interview since dropping out of the 2024 presidential race, President Biden reveals why he dropped out. Taking on the federal government, why former President Trump is suing the Department of Justice.
And our high today only 78, and it is 70 right now. Still some rain around. You know, that average high, by the way, is 89. So we'll get closer to that later this week with more rain and even some storm chances. I'll show you that coming up.